Dude, don't you already just have a Victoria class, though?
No, for some reason...
Yeah, you've printed it.
No, I tried, and then it never printed for some reason. Like, it was hollow.
Yeah, because your exposure time is 120 seconds.
No, the walls had no thickness, so they just didn't form.
How thick were those ERA bricks?
They were pretty thick.
I'm sorry. I'm like giving you shit.
Well, on that note, welcome to the Micro Machines podcast.
Yes.
And this week, we are being taught about the... Callum, what were we talking about again?
So this is the Type 95 Hargo. Yeah.
How goes it?
Oh dear.
We've gone comedian in the podcast.
It's gonna be a
Dad
long
jokes all
night.
day.
But before we go into the presentation, I think we should do some introductions. So,
Guys, wait, guys,
have a
Kidmaker,
list.
someone is selling Asuka Shermans for dirt cheap.
Get all of them.
Hey, yo, I might have to hit that up right now. All right, pause the podcast.
Hit 'em-
That's
hit
what
'em
I thought. I just saw it right now.
How many are
Drop a link.
4.
how much are they selling for?
40 each.
Drop it
Oh,
now.
what, 40
Now.
American?
Now.
Yeah.
Now.
No, I can get mine for 30 Canadian.
Oh.
Fuck
And-
But
you.
we ain't that lucky.
Maybe you should become that lucky.
I will.
Actually, I've got the jumbo version of the jumbo. I've got that one.
Better jump on it before the pedos do.
You're a
Jump
pedo.
on the jumbo.
What?
And already, poor Callum is going to have to edit that bit out.
I need to get a
I'll leave
bleep.
it in.
I need to get a beat machine.
Yeah.
We do actually
What-
need to get a beat machine.
Okay, where the fuck do you actually get where's the link to the actual thingies?
I sent it. Just click on it.
Ezra, that's a link to a feet pic site.
No, I did click on it. I promise it'll take you to your models.
Those are some nice.
It'll take you to
toes.
models, all right.
Sadly, he's not selling. Ooh, those are ships.
You know, Greg,
You're a ship.
your badass moto picture on the intro slide would be a lot cooler if you didn't have a fucking BFA on it.
Thank Ezra for that. He was the one who cropped it.
Mm-hmm.
He just made you look like a nerd.
Hey, I was out there defending the deserts of Yuma, okay?
Yeah,
Yuma.
Fucking getting after it, waiting for that 53 to land.
that's why you always cover that up when you're taking moto pictures.
Yeah, well, thank my photographer.
Anyways.
Yes.
Introductions, yes.
Alright,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
as stated, I'm Greg. I am recording from Southern California, eating homemade tacos and drinking coffee soon after, because we talk about our drinks, gentlemen.
Me next. Okay. My name is Gray. I am from Iowa, the great state of Iowa, filled with corn. I am drinking water currently, and I just finished a Blue Moon.
Did he get nuked?
He didn't finish saying what he finished.
There's no fucking way.
The CIA is on before he could announce what this happened.
Did I die?
Yeah, you died.
Yeah.
Oh,
You didn't finish saying what you
Gray's
finished.
actually talking to us from the afterlife now.
yeah.
Oh.
I am.
Iowa must be
drinking
even
a
more
Blue
boring.
Moon. It really is. There's nothing to do here.
Damn. Who's next?
Ezra.
Oh, I am Ezra in New Mexico, drinking legally, well, semi-legally acquired drinks. Yes.
Hey, yo.
Hey, Greg, can you go get your man's over here? He's getting drunk already. He's spilling
My
some
man's
beer
my
all over
ass.
the
That
place.
boy's like fucking 7 hours away. I know Toronto's small, Dennis, but you gotta think, this is North America, goddammit.
Why can't everywhere have only 5 people and be a major metropolitan area? This is stupid. Well, I am Dennis. I'm recording from the major metropolitan area of Toronto with only 5 people in it, and I am currently drinking a black coffee.
Oh, my man.
Nice. Like it black. I'm Jack, recording from countryside in Ontario, and I am currently drinking Tamiya Extra Thin.
Oh, shut up.
No, knowing Jack, he
What
probably
flavor
is.
are you going for?
It's just the Extra Thin. I have just the normal Tamiya cement right beside. Get it down that one after. It's a little bit thicker, goes down the throat a little easier.
I prefer the
Um,
strawberry. Sometimes the lime.
Oh yeah. Those are
We should really try those.
harder. Those are hard to get where I'm from.
Oh, Jack, have you ever had the Tamiya limiting cement? That stuff tastes like pina colada.
Have you boys ever had CA glue?
Have you boys ever tried bleach?
God.
Amazing.
They put bleach in our
Too
water
far.
bowls.
They put what?
Bleach in our water bowls when we're in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it good?
No! It's awful.
Well, then why would they do that? I don't understand.
yeah.
If it's
So
not
They do
delicious
to clean the
beverage, then
water.
why would they
Make
do
sure
it?
that stays clean for longer.
Yeah.
Sanitize.
At
the
AT,
water.
they put in way too much bleach, and they had to like completely dump out a water buffalo.
America.
Yeah.
Okay.
And last and least on this list is me, Callum, from New Zealand. And I'm going to be hosting this subject today. And I am, like Dennis, drinking a black coffee.
Hey,
Hell
man,
yeah,
all
boys.
pricey.
3 coffee boys tonight.
Well, I'm going to need it because after we record this, I have to go and do some more work on my 1-to-1 scale bathroom, which is making me physically cry.
Ooh, Callum, who made
Lately.
that kit?
Pardon?
Who made that kit?
Oh, some dickhead in 1973 with very low building standards.
Ah, so it's a resin conversion.
There's one thing I've found in the industry is, if you make a mistake, at some point someone will find it, and I am finding them all.
Well, it is New Zealand, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Building standards
That's
be
where
damned in the
mistakes are made.
70s.
What is
Yeah.
New Zealand but a mistake?
Oh, I'm sorry. Who was building the Bob Semple?
You're right.
That was a low blow.
Bold words coming from a guy in New Mexico. So.
Oh, well, at least we don't
Yeah,
have
you got
giant
nothing.
spiders.
You do!
You do.
You do!
Yeah, you do.
Hey, guys, at least he doesn't have education, okay? That's what we're
That
getting.
is true, yeah. We can't hold that against him.
Love you,
Oh
Ezra.
dear.
Love you
Anyway.
too.
So, we are going to be talking about the Type 95 Ha-Go, which was the sort of the mainstay of the Japanese armored divisions during the Second World War and during the Manchuria campaigns before the Second World War. So, I've nicknamed it the Light Samurai because this is a very light tank in every single sense of the meaning, and we're going to find out about that. But first, we better talk about how the Type 95 actually turned up, how it was developed, and stuff like that. So, history and development. So, in the early 30s, the Japanese army wanted to make mechanized warfare units by combining infantry and tanks. However, they did have, in the top left there, the Type 89 I-Go, which was a medium tank, but just like the British infantry tanks, this one couldn't actually keep up with the motorized infantry, because motorized infantry meaning, trucks and, high speed maneuverability, that kind of style. So, the I-Go could not keep up with them. The other two options they had for keeping up with motorized is the Type 92 cavalry tank and the Type 94 tankette. These are both tankette classes, only armed with machine guns, very lightweight, pure infantry support, but couldn't do anything else.
Who's that? Ezra?
What the hell was that?
Okay, the siren and the scream went off perfectly timed.
I'm glad we got that.
I apologize in advance to everyone who has to listen to a daily life in New Mexico.
Callum, so
Says the one from Scarborough.
I'm not from Scarborough.
What?
Do you take that back?
Where are you from, though?
Markham. I'm a Markham man's.
You're a Markham man?
What's
Yeah.
your exact address?
I thought you were from Scarborough.
Anyway,
So,
Ezra,
Callum,
why is it called? Why is the Type 94 classified as a tankette? Because like, when I look at it, it strikes me more as like a Panzer I type design. So why is it a tankette and not like a light tank?
so tankettes, I think. I'm just trying to remember the definition of a tankette, but basically a tankette is.
Was anything that wasn't like didn't have a main gun, like a cannon.
Yeah, so like tankettes are more machine gun based armored, basically like moving pillboxes, basically.
Okay.
Whereas a tank, there's very specific definitions of a tankette and a tank. A tank has a main cannon, whereas tankettes don't have cannons.
So then, by
so
that
you-
logic, the Panzer I would be a tankette as well, correct?
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
Although the Panzer I did have provisions to fight against other tanks as well, even though it was only armed with the MG. What was it? The MG.
34.
I think it was
Not
the
even
30.
that. There was
the
earlier
MG
than
TOW,
these,
I think it had a TOW missile, I think.
Oh yeah,
That was,
that is well known. Yes.
They were
Yeah.
8mm Morzer, but they had specific rounds, armor piercing rounds for other light tanks and tankettes.
They did
That-
have that, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, you're only looking at what, punching through maybe 10 mil with
Why, I
these.
feel like
Didn't
the whole
they?
idea of,
Didn't
like,
the
punching
Panzer
through
II
light
have
armor.
the same armament?
No, Panzer II had the 20 mil.
Oh yeah, sorry, the 20. Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
Well-
whereas the Panzer I
Okay,
had
never mind.
an 8 mil.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the difference. So basically, what you've got here is a medium tank that can't keep up, and two tankettes which can't do too much in the way of really supporting. So they wanted something sort of in between, light tank that had a bigger gun, not just machine guns, but capable of being transportable on trains and stuff like that. Capable of up to 40 kilometers an hour of. Jesus.
What the hell is going on back there?
I don't know.
Hey, it's a busy Friday night in fucking
Boy,
New
this
Mexico.
This is some audio texture right here.
Ezra, how many
That's
people
what, like
live
the third siren to go by.
So the bureau that decided this was the Tommy O'Hara of the Army Technical Bureau, who proposed a new light tank capable of 40 kilometers per hour, and development for this started in 1933.
Tommy
So-
O'Hara?
Pardon?
Tommy O'Hara, that sounds almost like Tamiya.
Oh god, what'd you do?
Conspiracy.
So, development started in 1933 and it was completed in June of 1934. And initial tests of the Type 95 were very good. However, they deemed it still too heavy at 7.5 tons, and it was reworked with some weight-saving measures, and they managed to bring it down to 6.5 tons.
The Type 95 GTI, I see.
Pretty much. Now, initially, they did doubt its capability to support infantry. So, you know how you test a brand new tank? Back in the day?
People.
You
Yes.
start a war.
Yes, by this time, the invasion of Manchuria, which is also known as China nowadays, had started, and they sent the first Type 95 prototype to Manchuria in the winter of 1934-1935. Its, what do I want to say, performance in this role, the reports were favourable, and they built a second prototype, which was started in June and completed in November. So,
Gotta
in
love
35...
favorable performance.
Pardon?
Gotta love favorable performance.
I mean, that's one good way to actually test a prototype. Just chuck it in where it's supposed to go and see if it actually worked or not.
Well,
Isn't
to
that what the
interject for a
Russians did a
second,
lot?
Didn't the Chinese have the Panzer I at the time?
Yes. The Germans were actually supplying China, Manchuria, I guess you'd say, with a lot of stuff. You'll notice, you'll see a lot of Chinese art equipment and stuff, and they were using the German helmet. They were equipped with Mausers. Yeah, a lot of the early stuff was German.
So real quick, was there any reports about fighting between the 94 or the Hago and the Panzer One?
No. By this time, basically all of Manchuria was kind of decimated by the Japs. They kind of just swept through. So I couldn't find anything about fighting against anything like that.
Fucking assholes.
Yeah, although
Well,
not a lot is known. Not too much
this
is known about that kind of stuff during that time.
This is probably worth thinking, though, that like even though it didn't encounter the Panzer I, that's probably what it was being built to go up against, right? Like these weren't meant to be fighting, and this is a bit of what we call foreshadowing. It wasn't meant to fight any American heavy or medium tanks of the time. Like it was probably going to go up against other tankettes.
Well, actually, it was the purpose of the Hago was purely infantry support, not tank on
There
tank.
you go.
As we will find out, which is why it suffered quite a bit later on in the war. So, in 1935, at a meeting with the Army Technical Bureau, the Type 95 was proposed as the main tank for all mechanized infantry units. Now, the infantry still had concerns that the armor was inefficient. However, the cavalry units indicated that the improved speed and armament compensated for thin armor. In the end, the infantry agreed, as the Type 95 was still superior to the available alternatives of the Type 92 and Type 94. Now, the name of the Hago was based on the year since the beginning of the Empire that the tank was produced, Type 2595. Sometimes a surname was used to supplement or replace the naming ideograms used for Japanese armored fighting vehicles. The Type 95 had the surname Hago, which means third model, and that was given by the designer of the tank, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. So we can thank Mitsubishi for this one.
I'm gonna hit him up with a picture of this and ask him if they still make it.
Glad to see that Mitsubishi, which is proudly carrying on the tradition by making the Type 16, has had such a long and storied history of making such beautiful vehicles.
Oh yeah.
Clearly, nothing has changed.
Now, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries started production of the tank in 1936. Mass production began in 1938 with the tank and parts made by several different companies, besides Mitsubishi, which included... Oh, I've got the list down here and I can't pronounce any of them. So, in post-production...
Try it.
In editing, I'm going to chuck them all up on the screen because I'm... Jesus, no.
That'll do it.
Yeah, but that is how we got the Type 95. It was just, they wanted something between a tankette and a medium just for infantry support. Very basic. Shall we go to the next slide?
Probably a good idea.
Yep. So let's talk about the design, all the features and stuff. Now then, as before, the very first Type 95 was 7.4 ton. Of course, they brought it down to, 6.5 ton. So it had a complement of 3 crewmen. You had a commander, a hull machine gunner, and a driver. So this is one of the early types of tank where the commander did the loading, did the shooting, did the commanding, and all of that, and was completely and totally overworked.
That's kind of funny to think that they thought the commander could do all of that, but they had to have a dedicated guy for the whole machine gun. It's interesting to think of how much importance they placed on that one role.
Yeah. So, only as I said, only the commander was in the turret. Hence, he was responsible for, here's the list: observation, loading, aiming, firing the gun, decision making, commanding the crew. What also adds to this was the turret was hand operated and very cramped.
Fuck that.
Even though he's Japanese, I feel so sorry for him. Jesus, that's just hell.
He's got that work ethic behind him.
So, you know how I said that the Type 95 wasn't designed to go up against other tanks? Here's why. The primary armament was of the most produced version of was the Type 94 37mm gun, not to be confused with the Type 94 37mm anti-tank gun, which came 2 years later. This is just, this is an early version of the Type 94.
There's an actual difference?
Yes. The difference being, the Type 94 37mm tank gun, not the anti-tank gun, had a barrel length of 46.1 calibers. It had an elevation of minus 15 to plus 20 degrees, which is actually pretty good. And the tank carried two types of 37mm ammunition, high explosive and armor piercing. For armor piercing, the muzzle velocity was only 580 meters per second, or 1,900 feet per second. So it could only penetrate 36 millimeters of armor at a max distance of 275 meters, or 902 feet. That's not a lot.
Not ideal.
No. So for secondary, we had originally we had two 6.5 Type 91 machine guns. These were replaced, however, in later variants with two 7.7mm Type 97 machine guns. One mounted in the hull front and another in the back of the turret facing the rear, typically in the 5 o'clock direction. One note of this: if the commander wanted to use the machine gun against infantry, the only way he could was to rotate the turret all the way around so the machine gun was facing the front. Then he could use the machine gun. Then to use the 37mm, he had to rotate the turret all the way back around. This seems like a bit of a design flaw.
Yeah, I've used this in Arma 3 against Shermans in the islands, and I get clapped every time.
A question for you, Callum. I don't know if you would know this or not, but was there a specific reason that machine gun was put at that weird angle, or was it just to accommodate the space of the commander?
I believe it was to accommodate it, because you can see on the design there is not enough room on the mantlet for a machine gun.
Right.
Like you can see the top-down view, just how small the turret is. It's not big by any sort of comparison. So having it that way, it sort of makes sense as a sort of you can make room for it, but in a combat situation, it is not very useful at all.
Yeah, it's funny because this is not the only Japanese tank which has the machine gun at that weird angle on the turret. I think it was the Igo. It also had that.
Yeah, it was very typical for a Japanese design. Not sure why they preferred it. My guess, they wanted to keep the mantlet smaller, but I don't know. They had a very different doctrine to, everyone else. Sometimes, being different is not good.
I'm about to say, this is that kid in high school that, swears to God that they're different than everyone else, and, just no.
Hey, don't talk about Ezra like that.
Oh, wow. I'm one of the normal people that That's saying a lot.
That is saying a lot, Jesus.
Yeah.
What does our public school system come to?
A very characteristic feature of the Type 95 was its suspension system. As we can see, it is very simple. It's a very simple design. It's Army Officer Tomio Hara designed this one. It was known as a bell crank scissor system. The suspension system became standard on the majority of Japanese tanks. The bell crank. Now, what a bell crank is you can see you have two sets of bogies, and they are on a they're on a hinge basically, and then in between you have a supporting spring right down the length of the hull. So, yeah, at a horizontal mounted coil spring. The tracks drove through the front sprockets. There was return wheels at the back. Now, the suspension had troubles early on with a tendency to pitch on rough ground, and I've seen this drive around. It does pitch rather violently. So there was one way to mitigate this, and that was to take the bogies off, flip them upside down, and put them back on, with a slight modification.
What the fuck?
Wait, really? That's all it took?
Yep. This is said to have improved it. There's a I think it's the Hokumaru modification they called it, because there was an officer, Hokumaru, that designed it. Now,
I mean, hey, if that's all it takes, it's not bad.
yeah. Now, here's one crucial design feature of the Type 95, and that is even if you never face combat, there is a good chance after being in a Type 95 you will die. A very horrible death.
Oh god.
Why is that, Callum?
Great.
Well, you remember back to the Covenant and Crusader episode, where we talked about the people inside burning themselves on hot metal and stuff?
Carry on, yes.
Well, this is one thing the Japanese actually thought about. They're in very hot climates. Steel gets hot, it gets very hot in there, you can't touch the sides. So they went about doing something about it, which is good. Do you know how they went about it?
Asbestos.
Yes. The entirety of the Type 95 is lined with asbestos. Which is why the Bovington Tank Museum have a Type 95, which is completely sealed up shut, because there's so much asbestos floating around inside, they can't open it without fear of,
dying.
But Callum,
Basically.
the nice man at the asbestos shop told me that asbestos is a wonderful material and that nothing bad would ever happen.
Mm.
Yeah, I made my whole house out of it.
Yeah, so they put in layers of asbestos padding to separate the it was actually separate from the hull to create an air gap, which does allow air to flow through and cool down, which, I mean, if it wasn't for the asbestos, it's a very good idea. Very crew, that's thinking about crew enjoyment, right there.
Well, it's already a pretty small tank, so you got to think, if there's a small air gap and then extra padding, they're already making a cramped tank even more cramped.
Oh, yeah. I've seen one of these in real life, and there's no room inside.
It seems very.
How many
uncharacteristic.
columbi big is it, though?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like point 0.8.
Oh,
Not
Like
ideal.
I stand taller than this tank.
Wow.
So,
Well, the people driving it are going to be smaller as well.
I'm about to say, the Japanese
that's-
people tend to be pretty fucking tiny. Like,
Oh, is that
the average height-
racist?
Yes, it is. Fuck you.
Whoa.
no, it's factual. So, the I can barely hear you, Jack.
Jack, suck your
Away
mic.
from the mic. Wait.
There you go. Attaboy.
Anyway, what were you saying?
No, I was just laughing at something. Go on.
Ah, okay. To finish off, the Type 95 was fitted with a 120 horsepower Mitsubishi A6 120 VDE air-cooled 6-cylinder diesel engine. It was located in the rear compartment on the right-hand side. The power unit gave it good mobility. Now, there's also another reason the Japanese used a diesel engine. So,
Diesel doesn't burn.
Because
Yes.
when they took over American positions, they could take all their diesel.
nope. Early on, the Japanese were importing all their tanks. However, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to create their own tank industry, which is fair enough. They had the materials at the time. They had imported a whole lot of tanks from Britain and stuff like that. One of them being the Vickers light tank, which is petrol powered. they were doing some tests and stuff like that, and an accident happened, which caused the fuel to catch fire, which caused the tank to catch fire, which caused the people testing inside the tank to burn to death. This was one of the deciding factors of wanting to design something with diesel. I don't blame them.
I will just point out, it's hearing about the things like the asbestos and the diesel seems very uncharacteristic of the Imperial Japanese Army, which like traditionally we think of them as being like very, I don't care about the lives of the people beneath me. Like this seems like fairly safety oriented. I think that Micro Machines podcast safety group would very much appreciate this.
Well, we appreciate the idea, not the execution.
Yeah, what Callum said.
I'm sorry, were you waiting for me to make a witty comeback? I can't argue with that.
Well, right, you should.
There was a lot of execution.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Let's see how many people we can kill in the street with our katanas.
Oh my god. Gotta get ready for that Baton Death March.
Oh, God. Or Rape and Nanking.
Oh my god.
Okay, that's how we get taken off of YouTube.
Yeah, Dennis, don't shy away from the facts. Remember the Rape of Nanking,
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't seem to remember any country called Japan existing between 1937 and 1945.
I mean, if you don't remember it, because it doesn't exist.
You're saying remember like you was there.
That's Dennis right now screaming about the Japan's history.
Oh.
Why can't all be just waifus and F-15s?
So, you're out in the Pacific Islands, you're with your squad, and you come across a Type 95.
Fair enough.
Before you deployed, you were trained on how to disable one of these by your instructors, because the Americans captured a lot of them, brought them back, took them apart, and did extensive research on them.
Of course.
And they found a number of ways to disable or destroy a Type 95. So
I don't see the American anti-tank rock on that list.
So, option 1. Use another tank. Reason? The Type 95 has only between 12 and 6 millimeters of armor. Literally any tank will go through it. There are even reports that the American 37 millimeter anti-tank round, the armor-piercing one, will go right through a Type 95, exit, and basically punch a window through a Type 95. There's eventually they, especially using a 75 and a 37, they had to basically employ high explosive, and that was enough to remove a hard go.
Nice.
Yeah. So, option 1, another tank. You're basically guaranteed. Because again, Type 95, very low muzzle velocity, not that good at taking out tanks. Option 2, if you have a bazooka. Reason? No armor. Bazooka goes through this real easy. Option 3, if you are armed with a 50 cal M2 Browning, you just riddle it.
Like that bitch.
Wait, actually?
Yes, a 50 cal will go through the sides of a Type 95. You basically Swiss cheese the tank until nothing inside's left.
Imagine being the poor American to go like dead check those fucking dudes in the tank, and as you're dead checking them, you get all the asbestos. So you go home and you live a great life. You got a wife, 7 kids. You're working at your local factory, and then you get cancer and die at the age of like 35.
That took a twist.
The bold assumption that you're going to survive the war.
That's the American dream.
The American dream, goddammit.
Option 4. If the Type 95 gets close enough to you, a hand grenade will work. The reason for this, I've been done quite a bit of research on this to create this, watching videos and all that. And I even watched the official training on how to disable one of these. Now, a hand grenade can be useful not for dropping into the fighting compartment. All the covers for the engine, oil caps, all of that have no locks on them. You can just lift them up.
Yoink.
You run up alongside.
The engine cover.
You run up alongside, lift the cover, drop a grenade in, close it, run like hell. The grenade will destroy the engine block. Or if you drop it into the refueling caps, you'll probably set the whole thing off.
No.
If you do not have a hand grenade and you have your 30 cal rifle, you can just shoot it at the engine cover, because the engine cover is not a single plate. It is a large grill with louvers in them, so you can actually see from the side. You can see the engine, and basically you just shoot enough 30 cal rounds into it, you will disable the engine.
Bro, imagine being like the Jap commander and you're rolling down some fucking back road on Guadalcanal or some shit, and like 7 Americans just jump on the back of your tank and start opening up with their fucking grab.
Well, if they're Americans, they won't destroy it, they'll disassemble it and then lie about it. Option 6. If you have no hand grenade, if you have no machine guns, if you have no ammo at all, but you have your bayonet, that will disable the Type 95.
God.
The reason for this, on the side, the turret ring, there is an overhang. And there's enough of a gap there that if you can slide a bayonet into this overhang and it will jam the turret, which is a hand crank turret, so the commander will not be able to rotate it.
Weak bitch.
If you don't have a bayonet, believe it or not, your metal canteen will do the trick. You just place it into that overhang as well, and it will jam all the same.
Wow.
Basically, the way you disable a Type 95 is to rummage in your pockets, find what you've got, and that will work. Yeah.
How discriminating for the fucking Japanese armor.
Perfect tank, 0 flaws. I don't see.
Yeah, I see nothing wrong with this.
Of course you don't.
See here, right? The guys who designed the Hago have single-handedly won the war for the Allies. They are our greatest assets.
Well, actually, believe it or not, you know what the best asset for intel gathering for the Americans on the Japanese was?
Native Americans.
Nope.
God.
For gathering intelligence, they used the ambassador that was stationed over there for negotiations and stuff. They managed to crack the code and their old-time version of hack into their phones, their communication systems. For the entire war, they never mentioned that they managed to they were just listening in on all conversations. Their best source of info was the Japanese ambassador. They never knew about it.
Thank you, homeboy. Appreciate you.
Yep.
Imagine your whole fucking like career year over there as the Jap ambassador. You're like, yeah, they don't even know a damn thing. Meanwhile, fucking Carl from Minnesota is writing down all your shit.
Like, have you guys seen the movie Tora Tora Tora?
Yeah.
You know when the Japanese ambassador that is based in Washington, that they're writing out the letter and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the guy. That's the guy that they got all that. Yep. In real life, that was the guy that they got all the info from. So, poor guy.
Yeah.
So, knowing all the faults on a Type 95, shall we go a little bit into how it actually performed? Which was probably better than you thought, to be honest.
Probably.
Purely because of
95 on the left. Has that been hit by a ladder?
No, that's just a
Staircase.
that's just staircase leading up to that bunker.
I thought for some reason someone dropped a ladder on that thing and it knocked it out.
Well, I mean,
Well, for
probably
what
would
Callum
knock it
just
out.
said, yeah, you could probably do it.
Yeah. I wonder how many things have dropped onto them and say, well, I'm disabled.
Every service member.
So, in the start of its life, in 1935, the tank was actually considered as one of the best of its type. Purely because this was still 1935. Tank development was still very much in its infancy. Especially with it being armed with 37mm cannon, not a lot were, powered by diesel. Just because it was considered superior over petrol because of its low volatility. As with most armies in the 1930s, the light tank was used for supporting infantry and to serve as cavalry reconnaissance and raiding vehicles. Its speed was about 18 miles an hour cross country, which was comparable to the M3 Stuart's 20 miles an hour. And of course, the Stuart turned up 6 years later in 1941. So
Take that back.
what?
Take that back.
Nope. So
Jack, get him.
I just found this one just to piss off Jack.
I'm on my way, Callum.
What, in your M3, I'll bring along my Type 95. Let's go, bitch.
You've seen me in War Thunder. That will not stop me.
Right. However, so it was comparable to the M3, although in armour, road speed and weaponry, the Type 95 was inferior to the Stuart. But the environment of the Philippines, where roads were sparse and tank engagements took place in near point-blank range, largely minimised the disadvantages and allowed the Type 95 to be competitive, as its off-road speed and turret rotation was comparable. So basically, it was just as good as the M3 in those close quarters, jungle fighting areas, which is what the Japanese were good at. So
it was the Japanese being good and not the tank.
pretty much, it was. It's just basically a very situational thing. Now, this was also used in the Khalkhin Gol, which was the border.
Fucking what?
Gol? G-O-L? I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, you pronounced it right.
ball.
Whatever. I'm New Zealand. I've got an accent. Fuck you all.
For real?
I didn't notice.
So, this little battle was when Russia and Japan had a little bit of a border dispute.
That's
You know.
putting it mildly.
A little border dispute.
Yeah. Just a small one.
Just keeps things interesting.
Yep. So, they were under the belief that the Red Army was retreating from the area. The Imperial Japanese Army Command in Manchuria transferred the 1st Tank Corps under the command of Lieutenant General Yasuka Masamamiya? I don't know. Fucking General Yasuka.
Mr. Tamiya, just call me.
General douchebag.
Yeah. To the village of Nomo... Oh, for fuck's sake.
Tamiyaville.
Whatever. Basically, they wanted to cut off the retreating Soviets. After a 2-day journey by rail, the 1st Tank Corps began unloading its 3rd Tank Regiment and the 4th Tank Regiment from the trains. This was on 22nd of June 1939. While the 3rd Tank Regiment was composed primarily of nearly decade-old Type 89 medium tanks, which is the IGO, the 4th Tank Regiment consisted of 35 Type 95, 8 Type 89s, and 3 tankettes, the Type 94.
Okay,
So,
that's a good start.
from the beginning, the Soviet General Zhukov, everyone's favorite Soviet general,
Never heard of him.
he deployed his BT-5 and BT-7 light tanks and incorporated them into his combined infantry, artillery, and armor attacks. Although in the same light tank category as the Type 95, also with 3-man crews, similar dimensions, the BT tanks were nearly twice as heavy at 13.8 tons. They were highly susceptible to close-quarter tank killer teams using Molotov cocktails, as they are primarily fueled by gasoline. As such, Japanese tank crews had a generally low opinion of the Soviet Red Army tanks, but the BT tank's 45mm gun was a different matter. With a velocity of over 2,000 feet per second, Soviet tanks could penetrate the Japanese tanks at a range of over 1,000 meters,
Take that, Dennis.
whereas the Type 95's 37mm gun had a maximum effective range of less than 700 meters.
This isn't fair, man. This isn't right.
Here's a quote from a Type 95 tank officer, quoted, "No sooner did we see the flash, there would be a hole in our tank, and the Soviets were good shots too."
Were they?
Yep.
Well, I
The
mean,
Soviets
the
were actually very
PT-5
good.
was pretty good. That was a
Pardon?
pretty decent tank for the day.
Yeah. And 45 mil, was it 45
Yeah.
millimeter
yeah.
gun? That gun's actually fairly decent.
Oh yeah.
Especially for, what was that, 1937?
Yeah. 39. 1939.
39?
Yep.
Yeah, more than adequate for a Hago.
Yeah, absolutely. So, after the battle, the Japanese losses consisted of 1 Type 95 light tank, 1 officer, and 1 enlisted man killed and 8 wounded. The 4th Tank Regiment had expended approximately 1,137mm rounds and 129 57mm tank shells, and 16,000 rounds of machine gun ammo. After the action, the Soviet command acknowledged the 1st Tank Corps armor had reached the Soviet guns. So, basically, they found just how decent the Japanese were at fighting. Although, foreshadowing, that was soon to change.
They found out.
Pretty much. So, the Type 95 was used in Malaya, Burma, and the Philippines, where basically it was their overwhelming numbers, so many years of jungle warfare experience that, well, that's also in quotations. When people say the Japanese were very good at jungle fighting, it's kind of disputed. That's more of a relativity thing. So they were used, Malaya, Burma, and Philippines, 1941 and 42. The very first clash with American armor was against the M3 and the M2 light tanks.
Mm-hmm.
And when they went up against Australia in New Guinea, the Australian infantry tried to use sticky bombs on the Type 95. However, the humidity in New Guinea meant that the resin didn't stick. Although the tanks had proved reliable in the tropical conditions of Malaya, they could not handle the volume of mud caused by intense, almost daily rainfall in Milne Bay. One tank was knocked out by a boy's anti-tank rifle, and the other bogged down and was abandoned a few days after the landing. Now, the Type 95 was used for 10 years with very little change, which shows that it's got some longevity to it, but at the same time, you're still running around the Type 95, everyone else is kind of, developing. So, at the very start of the war, it could give the M3 and M2 light, the Stuarts, a decent run for their money. Close range, stuff like that. However, later on in the war, specifically in... Where is it? Where are my notes? So, when the Americans first landed in Guadalcanal, they only had M2A4 light tanks and M3s. Japs did pretty well. Later on, however, the Americans started deploying M4A2s, M3 half-tracks, bazookas, stuff like that. Basically, once the Shermans turned up, the Type 95 had no way to answer for them. The frontal arm was too thick. Yeah, it was kind of, that was the beginning of the end, sort of thing.
Question for you, Callum.
Go for it.
How many Shermans would it take to knock out one type, the one hard go?
You don't even need a Sherman.
Dang.
When you can pull out a fucking spoon from your pocket and disable the tank, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Maybe a little one. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, that little spoon's gonna make a hell of a problem.
Yeah. So, in the China, Burma, India theatre, around that area, the M4 Sherman was being used over in Europe, which meant there was a lot of M3 Lees that were surpluses to requirement in Europe and North Africa and stuff, but they still had a role to play in the end of the war, being sent to Burma. Because the Type 95 had difficulty punching through that armor, an M3 Lee was perfectly capable of dealing with them. There was one observation by, I think it was an Australian corps in Burma, and a bunch of Type 95s tried to take on a convoy of M3 Lees. They managed to destroy one of them by shooting it point blank in the side at the start of the ambush. However, the M3 Lees quickly turned to face them, at which point their armor, the Type 95s, couldn't go through, and basically all the Type 95s were destroyed there and then. Yep. Oh, sorry, I thought you said something.
Oh, no, I just said L.
They also tangled with Matilda 2s, because Matildas were still being used in the Pacific, because, again, the Japs didn't have anything that could answer them. Could you imagine trying to go through the front of a Matilda 2 with a Type 95?
No, I couldn't imagine, because that was impossible.
Yeah. Now, the last time that the Type 95 was used during the Second World War was when in 1945, the Soviet invasion of Manchuria. So the Red Army just basically sent everything they had at the Japanese in Manchuria. The Japanese didn't have a lot of Type 95s at this point. They had run out quite a bit. And when they put up their defense, they basically threw a whole bunch of Type 95s at things like IS-2s, T-34-85s, Su-85s, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Let's get ratioed.
If you're not winning against Stuarts, you're not winning against any of that.
Hey, there's one upside, though. The Russians don't have spoons.
This is true.
Yep. So, after the war, Type 95s were still used a little bit. Some were exported to, I believe it was Vietnam, got some, or Thailand. And they were also used after 1949 by the Chinese People's Liberation Army, the PLA. That was after the Chinese Civil War. Both nationalist and communist side in the Chinese Civil War used Type 95s. Just because the Japanese had left them there, it was something to use. Yeah. And that was the last time the Type 95s were used. There are a whole bunch of existing examples around the world. I know Australia's got one. Bovington's got two of them, I think, or Bovington's got one. Strangely enough, when I went to TankFest 2019, there were 3 Hargos. One of them was a runner. I got a photo of one. The guy had spent $500,000 restoring it. So, it was a good one.
$500,000 for a shitty Hago. Okay.
$500,000 is probably what their entire regiment cost.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Now, there were some variants on the Type 95, which we'll quickly go through now. Dennis? Now, so you start with the Type 95 early. So this was an early production that differed from the most produced one by using a less powerful armament. This one had a very low velocity 37mm cannon at only 575 meters per second. It could only get through 45 millimeters of armor. Secondary armament was secondary guns was 2 Type 91 6.5mm machine guns. Only about 100 were made. These were mainly used in Manchuria. And yeah, this is the very first production. Next. So the Hokuman version, as I told you guys, where they just switched the suspension upside down.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, so you can see that if you click back and forth, you can see the difference. It's just purely getting the suspension, turning it upside down.
Question for you, Callum. I know this is more of a design question, but by inverting the suspension bogies, did they lose much travel by doing that?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I've got in my notes due to issues in Manchuria with, was it sorghum grass?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. They kept getting trapped in the suspension wheels. The wheel and suspension components were inverted with the addition of small wheels fitted to the bow crank axis, so the tank could move freely in the grass. So this is, they call it, it's either the Hokuman version or the Manchurian version. So it was just to help stop, it was give it a little bit more travel and to stop shit getting caught up in it.
I will say those camo schemes are pretty cool.
Oh, the Japs can't make a good tank, but they can paint them damn well.
Can't shoot it if you can't see it.
If we go to the next one. So this is the late production one. So they improved the main gun, they improved the engine, and the main one was they changed the machine guns into two Type 97 7.7 millimeter machine guns. So they just basically updated it. You'll notice these machine guns are generally infantry based, but like everyone else, and you'll see they actually put an armor shield over the barrel, and it that they clip on, so which means they all look the same. But yeah, so if anyone's ever looked at a Japanese tank, they looked at the machine guns, wondering what that shroud is. It is purely it's an armor housing that they put over the barrel. If we go next. This is the Type 95, the Riki crane vehicle. So this is just they converted Type 95s into engineering vehicles. So that it's got a crane on it, and yeah, it's their recovery vehicle. Go next. So this is Type 95 So-Ki. They're very original with their names. So this one was
rail-based?
Yes. The So-Ki was an armored railroad car. It was used for patrolling and guarding railway lines in both Manchuria and Burma. The chassis was based on the Type 95. It had light armor, no fixed weapons. Handheld weapons by the crew would be the only armament available. Now,
so you're saying they made you're saying you made it an armored train?
So it's a tank and a train?
Yes.
The TTC needs these.
I was about to say, what if we gave the TTC some of these?
Because here's the facts that you'll enjoy on this one, Dennis. It had a simple suspension system with bogie wheels suspended on bell cranks on each side of the chassis. The tracks were driven through the front sprockets. There were 3 small returning wheels. The Type 95 So-Ki, the Type 95 So-Ki was unique in the fact it had both track and wheel drive system. The vehicle could be changed between railway line mode and track mode for ground use, and this could be done in a couple of minutes. In addition, the width of the wheels could be adjusted with the various widths of rail gauges.
What? This was
Yes.
multi-gauge?
Yes.
Guys, I'm just saying, if I ever become a billionaire, I'm finding one of these, putting it into full working order, and I'm running it in Toronto.
This is your daily commute.
Dennis,
I'll be in a tank. Who can stop me? What are
the
they gonna
Type
do? Pull me over?
95 Go key.
Someone walking down the street with a plastic spoon from Starbucks will stop you.
Yeah. So you might be able to actually find one, Dennis. Between 121 and 135 of these were made.
Price worth paying. Oh, that's not the price. Oh.
They can change that suspension up. Jesus.
So if we go to the next one, the Type 2 Key
The
Kami,
Kami.
yeah, amphibious tank. So this was the first amphibious tank produced by the Japanese. Not the only, but it was the first. It was intended to be used by the Japanese Special Naval Landing Forces.
Oh, it's special, all right.
So the chassis was based on the Type 95, as we all know, and its main gun was the same gun. It was the 37mm tank gun. Pontoons were attached by a system of small clips with a release inside the tank to be engaged once it landed on the ground. So once it landed, those pontoons would come away. The Type 2 was first used in combat in Guadalcanal in late 1942. Later, they were encountered by the Marine Corps in the Marshall Islands and Mariana Islands, particularly in Saipan. They were also used during the fighting on the Philippine island of Leyte. Is it Leyte? Leyte? Whatever. And there were 182 of these completed.
It's the most
Actually,
steampunk shit
fun
I've
fact
ever
with
seen.
this, Tamiya makes this as a kit
Do they really?
Do they?
Bullshit.
in 1 to 700 scale.
Fuck you.
Okay, I still want it.
Oh
I
dear.
still want it.
If we go next, please.
I'm sorry, Jack. I shouldn't make fun of you for the kids you want.
No, make fun of them. Do it.
I want it.
I'm sitting here with my 1/350th scale turpets and my little Ardo planes. I can take it.
Okay, so next we have the Type 3 Key prototype. So this was a proposed model of a with a Type 97 57mm tank gun and a modified turret. So the chassis, again, Type 95 Hargo. It had a weight of 7.4 tons, a crew of 3 men, but it was determined that the turret was too cramped for the crewmen once the main gun was installed. A small number of prototypes were produced, however the design never got past the field testing stage. It's just basically slapping a 57mm onto a Hargo. And after that we have the Type 4 Key New conversion. All this was replacing the existing turret with the larger turret of the Type 97 Chi-Ha and armed with the low-velocity 57mm gun. Conversions were done in 1944 with approximately 100 of these built. Again, look at that
Well,
camo
rare
scheme.
boy.
Well, did these ever see service?
Yes.
Okay,
100
I
of
was gonna
them.
say, these look kind of familiar. I feel like I've seen it in the photograph somewhere before.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like this is what they should have done at the outset: is had a two-man turret in there and just kind of like made it a little bit bigger. I think it would have been a lot better as a fighting vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. Did the Chi-Ha turret affect the maneuverability of the tank in any way?
Not sure. There's not a lot of info on this one. Yeah, can't answer that one. If we go to the next one. Of course, with any
Whoa.
tank, you've got to turn it into an SPG.
That is
Yes.
cool though.
The
Yeah.
Forbidden
So-
Stug.
So this is the Type 4 Ho-2 prototype. So this
It's like
is
a
self-
knockoff Sexton.
It's the Japanese Sexton. Yeah, it's a self-propelled gun on a modified Hargo chassis. It mounted the Type 38 12cm howitzer in an open casemate with frontal and side armor. Only one prototype was made.
Do you know why they called it the Ho-2?
No idea.
Ho-2 make a prototype.
Oh dear. And we've got one more variation, and this one is for Ezra.
Oh!
Oh,
Casemate!
Ooh.
So
There's an alternate reality where the Emperor became the Fourth or the Third Reich, and this is what Ezra dies over.
yeah. So the Type 5 Ho-Ru prototype.
it's
So-
like a Hetzer.
Yep.
I know
The-
it's the equally as inbred.
Jack,
The-
the Japanese Hetzer. We've trained for this.
So the Ho-Ru was a light tank destroyer similar to the German Hetzer, but armed with the weaker 47mm main gun and a semi-enclosed casemate. The Type 5 utilized the chassis of the Type 95 Hargo, but its suspension was enlarged to 350mm track link width, so it was made slightly bigger. There were two rows of wheel guide pins holding the road wheel between them. The sprocket of the driving wheel was the grating type to gear with the wheel guide pins, just like the Soviet T-34. Development of the Type 5 started in February 1945, with only one prototype being completed before the end of the war.
Oh my god, so imagine if this thing, armed the 47, had been unleashed. The war would have been so different.
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. 47mm. I don't think the Japanese guns weren't that good, were they?
No.
Yeah, you never really caught on to the whole idea of, maybe a bigger caliber.
Yeah. Although I think they just didn't really have the industry for it as well.
I'm about to say, you also got to think they're moving around these super muddy, nasty islands that are like...
yeah.
They don't have very good roads, so you don't want anything too heavy or you're going to get bogged down. They probably just relied on that blitzkrieg tactic.
Yeah.
Like, if it's good enough for the Horizon Islands, I'm sure it would be good enough for them.
My electricity just went out.
That's gay.
Oh, God.
Typical New Mexico resident.
Probably
Yep.
has something to do with the sirens.
Yeah, that's
Now,
right.
to finish this all up, if you go to the next slide,
Full time.
you will find some
Colorful.
models of the Type
Ooh.
95. So
Hell
there
yeah.
are two Dragon kits, and you'll notice there is one with the standard suspension and one with the Manchurian conversion. Fine molds.
Do you really need to buy the Manchurian version though? Can't you just swap them around? Or is it
You
more
can swap them around.
complicated?
There's a few modifications you need to do, but you could do that.
Okay.
So Tamiya have one. So they have that in 35th scale. IGB has one in 72nd, and Fine Molds has one in, I believe that's 72nd as well.
I'd have to imagine the Fine Molds one would be pretty decent. I know they like doing their Japanese tanks. They usually try to do them justice.
Yeah, I wonder what the because that Tamiya one looks fairly old. They've actually got it's got a Fine Molds thing on the box.
I'm pretty sure it's actually a
Oh.
Fine Molds kit, if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah, I think it might be. So that Fine Molds one must be 35th scale then.
Yes, because I know they made the iGo in 35th scale.
Yeah. So it's probably like a Fine Molds reboxing or something, isn't it? They've just
Most
chucked in
likely,
some of
yeah.
their old figures in. But yeah, that is the Type 95 Hago.
Question real quick. Why
Yes.
would, Tamiya not make their own mold, and why do they just reuse someone else's?
Yeah, that's thievery. None of that stuff should be allowed on Facebook.
Yeah, not at all.
Reboxing is the same as recasting.
Seriously, do they buy out the company, or do they just do it?
I think they do like partnerships sort of stuff.
May
Okay.
I make a comment as someone who actually seen the what goes on?
I mean, Dennis, remember the Italeri Tamiya?
So Tamiya has a
The
nice
collab.
long history of partnering not with a Tallery, but with Fine Molds. They both have these companies.
I prefer the Italeri Reeboks of the Tamiya kits better.
You are insane. you are clinically insane. But yeah, basically what happens is I know with the Tallery and Fine Molds, Tamiya will occasionally just buy their tools, I'm pretty sure, for the kits, and then just use them to produce the new kits as reboxes.
Okay.
But they always throw in Tamiya content, so either it be figures or just stuff like that.
Stowage, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
nice.
actually another thing I want to say. If you are going to make an accurate model of a Type 95 and you want to put it in a diorama and all that, there is one thing you can't do. This is purely because of Japanese doctrine. They're very strict on this. You know how everyone else put a whole lot of stowage and stuff like that on their tanks? They carried everything with them. They put on armor plates, sandbags, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The Japanese did not do that. They did not allow it. And
Bunch
they
of
were a lot
faggots.
stricter than, say, Patton abusing a Sherman with sandbags on. All he does is yell at them, walk away, and then they just go, we'll never see him again, so they just don't bother. But it was indoctrinated into the Japanese. They did not add on extra armor, they did not add on stowage, anything like that. So you can't have a Type 95 if you want to do it accurately. Of course, this is model making. You do whatever the fuck you want to it. I'm not going to tell you otherwise. But if you want to do a historically accurate Type 95, you can't have any armor plating on it. You can't have any extra stowage, stuff like that. It's basically.
Did they ever add like foliage from like palm leaves or anything, or no?
That's one thing they did do just for ambushes.
Okay.
And occasionally you might be able to find the odd photo where they put a wooden deck on the back for when they're driving around with a lot of troops on the back. But then once they reach their operational area, that gets taken off. So that's one thing you can't do is load it up with stowage, because that's not how the Japanese did stuff. And of course,
Good to know.
It's like you can brush off general pattern and go, yeah, whatever. You don't really do that to your Japanese superiors, do you?
No, they go chasing you with a katana.
Yes. But yeah. Shall we have a bit of an intermission? I need to refill my coffee.
I think, we ought to.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Dennis, can you reload the slides?
Cool. No, I'm not reloading the slides in there.
There's a reason.
No.
It's for the hobby news.
What is it?
Pictures.
Hang on. I'm just.
Oh.
Is it was it the last one you put in?
The last one and the one after the PT boat.
I'll allow it.
Fine, I'll load it. I'll be merciful with you.
Okay, so recording's paused, is it?
No.
Yeah, so I'm feeling like if he doesn't get back to me, he might be dead, which is really unfortunate because I won't get my gun truck conversion.
Oh yeah, it's
really unfortunate when you hit.
It's unfortunate that you didn't get your gun truck.
Yeah, it's going to be really unfortunate when you have to hit up his family and be like, hey, I know your like dad or whatever just died, but he promised me this like gun truck.
Yeah, is this
did promise
a
me that gun truck for $30. That's like a quarter of the price you'll find anywhere else.
Dead, then it's going to all go to an estate sale, right? And you can probably get it for even cheaper than that.
But I don't know where this guy lives. I don't know his name. All I know is he was on Kitmaker.
Ask around. Usually the guys on Kitmaker know where each other live.
I mean, most of them know where I live.
Yeah.
They know what university I go to. They could definitely track me down.
Oh, half of these guys have sent me stuff in the mail. Like,
this is true, yes.
Yeah. Even you.
Have I sent you stuff? Oh yeah, I did. I sent you decals. That's right.
Remember when you sent me like 4 sets of decals because something was wrong about them?
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Ugh.
Well,
and then you put like resin pieces in one in just a plain envelope, and then the envelope smashed.
Okay, well, in fairness, they were not very big, so that wasn't really my fault. That was more the fault of Canada Post.
That's when I started thinking, you know what, this guy might not be a legitimate decal business.
Well, I never claimed to be legitimate. I'm running it off an inkjet printer. But hey, the thing is, if you want Canadian markings, either you can track down an old set on eBay that's probably yellowed, or you can just come to me and suck it up.
Yeah, that works. Conversion rates be pretty
Come to
good.
Dennis and suck it up.
Hey, Dennis, just give me 1 second. I'm just going to update one photo on my whip.
Oh, by the way, Callum, you would
reload
be
the slides. This is my
most-
chance to add something.
No.
Wait, can you guys
Nope.
hear me?
What are you saying, Dennis?
You'd be very happy because my most recent commission-based decal order has been for an Australian Abrams.
Oh, yes.
Really?
I'm not Australian, though. Fuck Aussie.
That's why I'm saying it to you.
Jack, what the fuck is that setup?
What's that? Oh, I've got a fan in. Okay, I'm gonna go turn that off.
Australian
Wait,
Abrams go so
sound or
hard.
Setup.
Setup.
Oh, it's the
There's a
cozy
picture-
setup.
There's a picture in the background, and it's just why?
That picture's been like that since February.
Hang it up properly. It's not that hard.
No. You know what?
What the fuck are y'all talking about?
Oh,
have
look at
no
podcast
idea.
planning. Jack, that's beautiful. I love it.
Right?
What the fuck?
Hey, yo. The jack bed?
The jack
Luger?
bed.
It's where it jacks off.
Oh.
I mean, it looks very comfortable. I mean,
I think right now it's probably
I
I
wouldn't
mean,
be
it's a
upset by
computer
that.
right there.
Yeah,
It's a very comfortable place.
it's that blanket looks mighty soft.
Oh, it sure is.
soft and breathable.
Soft and breathable.
Someone
I
give
ain't
me a
gonna
good
lie,
caption for
that's
it.
For the
juice
blanket?
bed.
The juice bed.
Did y'all hear that?
Maybe.
That was my neck.
Do you hear my fan in the background?
No.
So you
Okay,
also
good.
sleep with the fan on.
Okay. The
I
juice
just
bed.
finally added tie downs for my fucking T62.
I built an entire spaceship.
I think the Luger's the best part, Jack.
It's
Alright,
beautiful, isn't it?
If you reload the slides, Dennis, my last one's on.
Did not have said it that
Hey,
slowly.
yo.
He's gonna ask you to refresh the slides.
Because I take a weight training class, they made us sit down one day for about an hour and a half and take a quiz on why rape is bad, and in weight training.
Very American.
Please
Like-
tell me you passed. Please say you passed.
He probably
I
failed.
think I passed.
He didn't have to study, so.
They're like, yeah, one of the questions was literally, is rape bad? Should you get someone drunk and then rape them? Agree, disagree.
That is so New
Depends on
Mexico.
Is it the homie or not?
It doesn't specify.
That's what you
If
should
it's the
have put.
homie, it's probably not even rape. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like a standing agreement.
it's always consensual.
I mean,
It's
just as well
practice,
you're not,
okay?
just as well you're not in Alabama. Otherwise, that question would have been if your sister is.
Oh, God.
The juice
Oh,
bed.
Right.
Your juice bed.
We all good?
Shall we do the hobby news then?
I think it's a good idea. I'm going to have to edit all of this out because I've just realized it's been recording the whole
No,
time.
No, keep it, keep it, keep
The
it,
hot
keep
mics are the best part.
I'll put it in the intermission background.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
So,
Oh.
Nosberg, our favorite Dragon Reeboks company, is coming out with the. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but it's basically the Sonderkraft Farzoig 250-1, the Ausführung B. As far as I understand, it basically uses the same concepts as the SDKF said 251, which is like the Hanomag, right? That's the thing that people are more accustomed to. It's a little bit shorter. It was more used for command and reconnaissance. I will say this is just a rebox of the Dragon kit, but it does feature new decals, and I know it's got new instructions. I believe they made a modification to the PE.
Okay.
35th, nice.
Oh, javelins!
I found this from AFV Club. So they are releasing Javelin kits. So you got the UK and the American versions. And also in 35th, they are releasing a Centurion Mark V Avery
Look at that.
with the 160mm demolition gun.
That looks so good.
How much
So
you want to
now-
bet the javelins are going to be, though?
Probably like $20.
Yeah, I was gonna say $20 for two of them,
Yeah.
Price of a mini
or
kit?
$3.99 on AliExpress.
Exactly.
Ooh.
That's more
topic.
reasonable. Just wait until the AliExpress recasters start recasting entire kits like this Mark V.
Oh god, I can't wait.
Normally $200 from AFV Club, but for my friend, $3. Three what? No, $3.
$3. Free shipping. 7 week.
3 shipping.
Oh, look
of course,
at
we've
that
got the
wildcat.
new EDAD kits. So they are releasing the P51D, the F4F3 Wildcat, the A6M20 Type 11, and the BF109G10 Erla.
Look at the
Erla.
greatest aircraft ever made and 3 other lesser aircraft.
I know
You
the
see,
Wildcat was
I-
awesome, wasn't it?
I would argue the Wildcat is better than the Zero.
Depends on the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for all three of these because the Wildcat can go crash and die. I've always
What?
hated the Wildcat. I don't like
Wildcat
how it
is
looks.
amazing.
Yeah, what's wrong with the Wildcat?
I'll
Thanks.
take the Corsair over the Wildcat. Anyway.
What about the
Greg,
Hellcat?
are you rocking with me in the Zero? Or are you in the back seat?
On your ass with a fucking Corsair ramming into you.
Greg, Wildcat or Hellcat?
Neither Corsair.
I will say the Wildcat looks way better than the Corsair.
Yeah.
I
What?
agree.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
it's way better
100%.
looking. Look at those retracts.
Y'all are
The
hot.
semi-retractable landing gear is the best part.
Whenever we all meet at an airport or something one day in like a year or two, we're all gonna be happy. I'm just gonna slap one of you for saying Corsair. Like, what was that
Guess
for?
What?
It's pulling a patent.
F2 Brewster Buffalo looks better than the Corsair.
Take that back.
No,
Take it back.
Of course,
Greg,
Greg,
I'll hold
for
you
us to
down
actually
once.
do this meetup, we'll definitely need a Patreon so we can get other four saps to pay for it. You know.
Yes.
Didn't we say we were going to set up a Patreon last week?
I
think we'll
this
see
is
that
the-
every week.
Which was
ago.
2 weeks
Knows.
ago, yeah.
Yeah. Life gets busy, man.
Sure does.
No.
Ew.
Boo.
Ravel. I've kind of heard Ravel's ships aren't that bad.
I
you
want to do
know.
that. I want to do
You're
that
wrong.
kid justice. I'm gonna be honest.
So they are releasing in 72nd the Patrol Torpedo Boat, the PT-160. I've only just started the second cup of black coffee. Just give me a break.
Boo. Don't buy it.
I'm gonna buy it
Something-
just to
something
miss you
funny.
off.
Yeah,
What?
that's-
So where I work at Grey Hobbies Offshore, we don't have like a huge selection of ships, but we do have like 15 different PT boats. I don't understand why, but like we are so stacked for these things.
Yeah, who's
Yeah.
buying PT boats?
They
Nobody.
always
That's
make
what I
PT
don't
boats.
understand.
But PT
Like,
boats
what?
are so cool.
Jack's over there looking around, twiddling his thumbs.
Like President Kennedy was a PT boat crewman.
PT-109.
half the kits we have are actually of PT-109. Like we've got
Yeah.
5 different PT-109 kits from different manufacturers.
Yeah, didn't
Before he
they
got
res-
placed
didn't
in
they
half.
restore it when he was like elected president or something? Like they restored it and was part of a parade or something.
Where'd they find it? Because, wouldn't it be on the
Dallas.
bottom of the ocean in 2 pieces?
Well, it was probably a recreation of it because didn't his one get cut in half by a
Yeah.
Japanese destroyer or something? Because
Yeah.
somehow in the middle of the fucking Pacific Ocean at night they didn't see each other.
Imagine my
comedic.
utter shock and disbelief.
It's because Japanese sailors are incompetent.
You take that.
And
back.
American ones aren't.
No, they're probably just too busy jerking each other off in their cabins because they're seamen.
You know all
Whoa,
about that, wouldn't you,
whoa.
Ezra?
Most of the sailors have probably never seen the fucking ocean before. Like, oh hey, here's a fucking boat. Go live on it for 5 weeks.
5
What's
weeks,
what's
my
that on the
ass.
back of PT-160? Is that like a quad 20?
50.
Looks like a
50?
quad 20.
Yeah.
20. Actually, it
You're
looks more
quad
than
20.
It looks more
Big
than
packing.
quad as well.
It's like I'm looking it up.
So,
Yeah, do a quick thing. Yep.
Maybe it's a. Is it a pom pom?
Nah, don't. Nah, that's definitely
No,
not
that's
a
not a
pom-pom. It
pom-pom.
hasn't got the muzzle brakes on them or whatever they're called. You know.
It's
Okay,
got,
here we go. It's a quad something. We know there's 6
Is
of
it a
them.
Quad something? Yeah.
Ooh. 20 mil, 50. Come on.
It's a
maybe
it's a
50s?
20.
Okay, so here it says one experimental Thunderbolt mount consisting of 4 20 mils and 2 50 cals.
Damn.
Oh,
Hey,
Best
that's-
of
yo,
both
they're mixing
worlds.
calibers.
So
Jesus.
It is a 6 mount.
That's-
That would be
that's pretty
amazing to
wild.
fire.
That's cool.
You're so fucking loud.
Why do you need this on a PT boat though?
Don't ask questions. Enjoy it.
Because you can.
Imagine
Okay,
A
let's go.
75 millimeter strapped to the front of PT-109 was good enough.
Well,
I mean, if
obviously
I got to
because they're
fire-
cut in half.
If I got to fire 4 20 mils and 2 50s all at the same time in one mounting, my underwear elastic would have just been gone.
Shred
Yeah,
every
this is
fucking
the most
plane.
American shit.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Black Dog is releasing 2 different sets of figures for your PT boats. Like, I'm kind of torn. The casting doesn't look super good. Like,
That could just be the photos.
maybe.
I
How
will
good
say
is
Black
Black
Dog
Dog?
is pretty garbage. Yeah,
Are they?
for what for what they charge you, they're not the best.
Yeah.
Standing
Recast time.
Yeah,
At least
When the recast has
Recasters are
better
somehow
detail.
better than the original. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, their poses look interesting, I guess. I don't get why that guy's legs are spread open.
It looks like one of them's
Really?
imitating Michael Jackson. Grabbing something.
Left picture, far right hand side, homeboy's taking a piss, so you gotta get like a piece of like noodle or something and paint it. What color is his skin? Brown? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw a diorama where someone had a German soldier behind a brick wall taking a piss, and he actually
Yes.
molded. It's like, that is
I saw
dedication
that.
right there.
Oh yeah.
That was funny. That was good.
Homie spent 10 hours on the dick.
Wait,
And that's a problem because
you gotta get it right, you know.
Medication, you know that
Oh, you do have to
historical
get it
accuracy,
right.
you know.
you're sitting there, you're like, okay, this is 1/35 scale. Yeah, that long. Yeah.
Bringing out the measuring tape.
He's got the calipers out here.
Gonna get a message at night. Hey, what would 2.5 inches be converted to 35th scale? Asking for it.
No, you have to look up
Huge.
what's the average dick size if you're a Wehrmacht soldier in World War II.
Very
Well,
small.
You'd have to do all
Minus.
the research material for that, wouldn't you?
He's got that in a folder.
You better
With a
believe
red
it.
tag.
That's my
It's in the
homework.
homework folder.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Moving swiftly on. Ooh,
Trumpeter's got some new helicopters. So you got the MI4. That is in 48 scale. And
Of course.
the other one is the KA51? Oh, what is it?
52?
52.
No,
And that is in 35th scale.
that's not
Yes!
the alligator.
Yeah, I was going to say, may I have a crumb of 35th scale, please?
Yep. So that one is in 35th scale.
Take a whole loaf of bread.
Wait, no, it's not a 52. That's the alligator. My bad.
I know. That's
It's not 51 either.
Oh, what is it? I can't remember.
50?
I don't know.
Guys, it's a helicopter.
Is it an
It's a
MI,
Russian
not a KA?
helicopter.
It's a helicopter.
Helicopter.
It's definitely KA. Hang on.
Dennis, do you say that when you walk into your future in-laws' house?
Most likely, yeah. Oh, dude, you have no idea.
Oh, 27. KA27.
I can get
There you
a
go.
Mirage. I can get a 1/48 scale Mirage 3R for $6. You better believe I'm slapping some Pakistani Air Force markings on it. I'll have to make them, but it'll be worth it. That'll be my peace offering.
I mean, that's why you have a 3D printer.
Yeah, no. You better believe I'm not 3D printing an aircraft.
Oh, I'm updating my 3D printer.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm going to be getting a Mars 3.
Well, bro, if you just stopped melting your LCD screens because you have 2-minute exposure times.
No,
Maybe you
the
wouldn't have
problem
to
isn't
get a
that,
new
it's the
printer.
resolution. I'm seeing what James on Kitmaker is doing with his Mars. I can't get anywhere near that close detail with my LD002.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay,
Ooh.
and
Nice.
Airfix. I've got the Blackburn Buccaneer in
Ooh.
48 scale. And I love the Buccaneer. It's
It's-
a cool looking
oh,
aircraft.
Look at
It's a
that.
weird looking aircraft, but cool.
Yeah,
It's slick.
yeah.
It has that
Callum, when you
A6.
get it.
It has that A6 intruder refueling probe.
Mm. And when these were used, I think it was during the Gulf War, they were painted that sort of pinkish sandy color as well.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why, but it works for me. I like it. I mean, it's better than Kark Tan.
Anything is better than Kark Tan.
Desert Pink is way better than Karktan, I'll bet.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know what?
Here.
Actually, I have if we're talking about pink, shout out to Paige, one of my coworkers, because she built her first armor kit. You know what her first armor kit was?
The Pink Panther.
You win.
The Pink
Trumpeter
Panther.
Lav 3.
Oh,
Oh.
God.
That dog
Help
of
her.
a kit, and she did all of the photo etch perfectly on it, and it
Damn.
will be painted pink, and I stand that. I think we should all support the girl bosses painting pink tanks.
Yeah.
I'll be excited to see that one.
Yeah, it will
Take
be pretty
pictures, please, Dennis.
good. I'm
She
trying
have
to
an
make her join the
Instagram?
server. Yeah,
Or
She's
get her
joining
to
the server?
yeah, I'm just going to peer pressure her into doing that. I think,
And then she'll see
yeah,
all the profile pictures some of the guys have, and she'll immediately run.
Simply
Go on
put
the
your
kit
shirt back
maker.
on.
She'll go on the Kit Maker Moments channel and leave. We could get
Okay.
her on for a Pink Panther episode.
we should do the Pink Panther.
Yeah.
Jack, do you know
What
how
about
many guys-
femboys? What's your guys' take on femboys in modeling?
What?
No, we're doing that
Next,
sometime
next,
else.
go to the next.
next. Okay,
sometime
so
else, Ezra.
so Hobby
Not
Boss
right now.
is hot on the heels of their recent releases of their Leopard 1 tanks. They've got a new Buffle, which is the Leopard 1 recovery vehicle.
Ooh.
No, I lied. This is the Leopard 2. I apologize. This is based. A lot of the parts are similar to the Leopard 1. But this is a Leopard 2 Buffle. How 150 USD for this?
No thanks.
Fuck no.
No, never.
What? No, look, it has a full interior though.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
No, it's got a driving compartment interior.
Well,
Yeah,
doesn't
fuck
it have an
no.
engine?
I could
Yeah,
see
I
if
don't
that
believe
was
so,
like 1 to 16th scale and having like an interior. Yeah, I could see paying that much, but no.
You know, that's a funny thing with the Hobby Boss stuff for any of the leopards. Everything is at least $100. I don't understand why.
Hobby Boss just charges too much for too little.
No, speak for yourself. I get a fantastic discount on them.
Look at the
shut up.
AAV you got.
You know what I'm going to do, Greg?
What?
When I get my Tacom M114, I'm taking the interior parts from the AAV and putting that and using that to make an interior for the M114.
Does the M114 not come with an interior?
No, it does, not the one I got, but I'm going to kit bash one.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to
Gotcha.
make
Okay.
whatever I want.
Doesn't the M114 have tow? I mean, not tow. What are the American shoulder-mounted rocket launchers?
Laws.
Yeah, laws.
Laws,
Three of them.
laws.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have 3 laws mounted on the inside of the door.
Yeah, but this is Horizon Island, so I can do whatever the hell I want.
This
Facts.
is true, but
3
laws
toes.
are a good idea.
3 toes.
I mean, I have 5 toes, but
Really? I have
Dang,
10.
I have 10, yeah.
What the fuck? That's for what
You
happened.
But yeah, so Hobby Boss
But let me
is,
clarify.
grifting us really hard.
Hobby Boss is bending us over.
So here's something I thought you guys might be interested in. So this is the Scimitar, which is basically the CVRT Scorpion, but with a Rarden cannon on it.
I
This
like
is
it.
1 to 72 scale. On Hobby Link Japan, you know what? How much it goes for?
How
Something
much?
like
How much?
$15, $15 or $20.
oh damn!
Oh shit! I want it.
Yeah. It's really cool because it's got this photo etch. It's got Lincoln length tracks, clear parts, all of that, and it's got this nice little turned metal barrel. I will
Really?
say, this being
Wow.
1/72 scale, it is pretty tiny, but it looks pretty
Hey,
good.
I've built probably the shittiest 1/72 scale Scorpion out there.
Oh, you
so
have,
I
Jack.
can manage. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of a joke that involves foreplay.
What? Why?
It's for hobby.
Oh,
You,
Moving
Ezra,
right along.
have a problem.
foreskin
So also
hobby.
1/72 scale. Mang's coming up with their Leopard 2A75. And this
Oh.
looks pretty nice. I will
I like
say.
the foreskin hobby kit
Ooh,
better.
I like that.
Oh,
The
God.
foreskin hobby kit is probably pretty good. I wonder how much this Mang kit is going to be.
Probably as much as a 35th scale kit, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
see,
it looks
that's a problem.
So we've seen 2 very nice 72 scale kits, which are pushing the boundaries of what can be done in plastic. They're bringing 35th scale detail and the 72 scale packages. And then we've got this stuff coming from Revell.
What the hell?
What is that?
That is the new Revell 1:72 scale Leclerc.
Let's go, hear me out. Hear me out. With careful paint and weathering, you can make that look pretty decent.
Okay, do it.
Okay, Ezra. Okay.
Okay,
Hear
Ezra,
me out.
do it.
Hear me out, Ezra. Whoever does test builds for Revell needs to be shot.
I agree with that.
This is offensively bad.
I mean, what's bad about it? Like,
okay, hold on.
Yep, go through the list.
Here is what you should be seeing in 1:72 scale, right?
mm-hmm,
This is what we're getting.
mm-hmm. But there's nothing wrong with the paint scheme. Or the... You said the
You
building.
versus a guy she's talking to.
Am I the only guy here who's seeing this?
But...
Turn metal barrels,
But-
photo etch. For the
Yeah,
same cost
but-
of that, probably Revell kit, you'll get this.
The Revell kit probably comes with length tracks, though.
These both
Rebel
come with
kit
link
probably
by
come with a unique tank too.
Like Homeboy didn't even drill out his barrels.
I'll take this Type 90 over those leopards and...
You would take this
Fascist.
over this and this.
You're high, Ezra.
He's drinking Mr. Hobby's juice.
Oh,
What the fuck is that?
this...
That is a Pershing tiger.
Wow.
I want it.
This is the amusing hobby Porsche Tiger with a full friggin' interior and Zimmerit.
That is the
You're an
only
amazing
Tiger
hobby.
tank I will ever own.
Bro, that is interesting as fuck.
It's so cool. That's what the Ferdinand was based
cool.
off of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
Like
it.
my hot take: Porsche Tiger looks way better than actual Tiger.
Oh, Simply's going to kill me for this. I think both the Porsche Tiger 1 and Tiger 2 look way better than the standard ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
The
I like the
Porsche
Porsche
Tigers
Tiger
are way
too.
better.
Porsche Tiger 2. bleh.
I like the Porsche Tiger 2, but I think the Henschel Tiger 1 looks better than the Porsche.
Yeah, I agree with that statement.
The turret shape for the Porsche Tiger is just too round.
Porsche Tiger looks... Well, it's interesting, though. It's like an oddball. I like it.
True.
So it looks like it would be a pretty good kit, that one. 35th scale, full interior.
And
I would go with
Zimmerman.
the- By the way.
Zimmerit, you said?
Yeah, Zimmerit.
Is that photo wedge Zimmerit, or how are they doing it?
I
Photo
think
etch
it's
Zimmerit.
it's either molded on or as decals.
Oh, what?
Decals?
Okay, if they decal that shit, then no. No.
No.
No, you can get 3D
Zimmerit
decals now.
What?
Have you ever used
Yeah,
the
3D decals.
Zimmerit decal?
I've never heard of that.
Okay, so what they do is that it's an actual 3D part, right? It's an actual Zimmerit paste, but it's on water slide backing. It's the same thing that you see with a bunch of the guys, they've got the cockpit instruments from Quintus Studio, which 3D prints on a decal paper. It's
Right.
3D parts, so like you get this whole sheet of Zimmerit for one side of the tank, and it's one decal. You just slide it off, and there will be holes for things like the tool handles and all that, and you just slide it on.
Have you
So like y'all are
used them?
fucking with me like the beaver tail.
No.
Oh,
No.
this is the thing, Greg. You know the
Real thing.
Panther I have.
The what?
You know that full interior Panther I have in 1:48 scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got the Zimmerit decals on it.
You're going to have to show us how those work.
Yeah.
well,
do
Give a
video.
little review. Yeah.
They're stupid easy to use. Like you wouldn't have any issues with them.
How's the result? Like, are they...
It is Zimmerit in 48 scale. Like I don't even know how to describe it other than it is just Zimmerit.
Well, that's... There you go, I guess.
You know what? I'm gonna have to build this tank because I just realized the Porsche Tigers are hybrids, which
Yeah,
means,
you're right.
follow my logic. Prius.
It's a Prius.
Oh god.
Put a tow missile on it.
and the Porsche Tiger could go forward and reverse at the same speed. Albeit slow, but same speed.
You know what I'm gonna have to do? Like those shiny hybrid synergy drive, chrome badges that you see on Priuses.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
You need to
stick
put one
right
there.
on the back here.
With, like, the blue Toyota logo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That way you know it's an eco-friendly car because it's got the blue on the logo.
Jesus. All right.
I guess that brings us to tonight's model discussion. And tonight our topic is going to be what do you guys prefer doing? Do you prefer making models that are copy a certain historical photograph or they're historically accurate, or do you more prefer science fiction or just what if models, right? So I guess just for some context, up here on the two photos here, so we've got a guy on the server, Christian, and his big deal is doing models that are historically accurate. He'll take a photograph and copy it. In this case, this is an M10, I believe, in France. That's the photograph on the left, and then on the right, this is the model he built. So his deal is basically just copying stuff. Then on the right, you've got what Greg and I have been up to doing the whole Horizon Islands thing. And just for context, the Horizon Islands, they're completely fictitious. Like, these don't exist. So what we are doing right now is we're stepping very heavily into what if territory. So I guess for you guys, my question would be, what do you guys prefer doing more? What do you have more fun doing? Do you have more fun building models that are very historically accurate, or do you like, going with sci-fi and what if modeling?
I prefer historical. Although, if I find like a piece of stowage in my spares box that would look cool on a model, I will add it. Like on my M51, I'm going to add a white plastic folding chair to the rear engine deck. Just because I feel like it.
That'll be nice.
Yeah.
Callum?
I like to go with what if. Like, you know me, I like doing the weird and wonderful and crazy sort of vehicles that you can build models of. And they're all what if vehicles, like my SMK, the Mark IV Tadpole, VK3001H. That's a prototype only. So I definitely like the what if. What if when it comes to World War One, World War Two, and cause it just gives you a bit more creative freedom to imagine however you want it. I definitely want to try and look into sci-fi as well. I've been considering a model of an AT. What's the chicken walker from Star Wars? The AT-ST?
ATT. Wait, no, not T.
Oh, is it the Bandai 148?
Yeah. I've been looking into one of those because I really want to build one that's got a sort of swamp camo swamp camo, and then have it like half in stepping out of swamp water and having like foliage and stuff like that. It's one model that I really want to build.
If you want, I can send you pictures of like the sprues and stuff because I've got it in my stash.
Yeah. I just really want the kit, but I think at the moment they're going for about $70 to $100 over here.
Oh my god!
Yeah, those Bandai kits are not cheap.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, and the funny thing is, like with sci-fi modeling, let's say, like especially with Star Wars, if you're building Star Wars and you deviate from what's canon, you will get so much hate online from it, which is kind of ridiculous.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah, because it's sci-fi.
I know. And it's like, I'm building a kit of a vehicle that was made from about 3 dozen different kits from using World War II bloody vehicles and stuff. Like I believe the top of a TIE fighter is a Sherman wheel, road wheel.
Actually?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, if you look on the back of a Y-Wing close enough in the movies and stuff, you will find 2 shovels from the same Sherman kit. Yeah.
That is neat. Huh.
Interesting.
And you'll look through and you actually find like Panther, a lot of Panther exhaust, not exhausts, air intakes that are on the top, the engine deck. You see them a lot. I think they're on the Millennium Falcon.
That would make sense. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So
Stormtroopers got the MG34 as a fucking main battle rifle.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I'm definitely leaning on the sci-fi what-if sort of modeling. I think for me, it's It's more of a creative outlet than making something historical.
Yeah, makes sense.
Very nice.
I personally, well, I mean, I guess I like to bounce between both of them. Like I've done the KV222, and well, I've also done a lot of historical stuff as well. Like the M5 that I'm working on is going to be pretty historically accurate, not necessarily copying a picture, but it's going to be as historically accurate as I can make it. Because doing both, they're both a really neat challenge and a good way to build your modeling skill. I guess personally, where I feel most comfortable is sort of something that is probable, but isn't like a copy of a picture. Like it's not necessarily historically accurate, but you could have, like, it could have maybe existed, where you can still kind of play with it a little bit, but at the same time, it's something that could still be historically accurate when it was used.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Like, sort of like that, the wagon wheel that I'm throwing on the side of my M5.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I fuck with that shit.
Yeah. Because it just looks cool. It doesn't need to be historically accurate. It just looks neat.
Like, I know that my T62 down there is the exact opposite of historically accurate, but like I've got those.
Sick.
Thank you. I've got those two fucking like car tires on the back, right? And
yeah,
you never know, like especially in a column like that one's supposed to be in, like light skinned vehicles, they need a place to stow extra equipment, extra parts, and things like that. So why not throw it on the back of the tank?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
For your wagon wheel, I mean, you never know when you need a fucking wagon wheel. I guess I don't know. It's a prop for a tent or something put against the tank.
Yeah, I don't know, or maybe they just like stole it off a barn or something. They're taking it with them. I don't know.
Makeshift table.
Yeah, makeshift table. Sure. Why not? With a lot of holes in it.
Well, I could throw a tarp over it.
Yeah, exactly.
Take
Tarps
that,
fix
Dawn.
everything. Yeah. Come on, Dawn. Fight us.
Dennis?
Well, I mean, for me, I'm completely what if. For me, modeling is more just about the process, and it's kind of more of an art form for me. I can totally appreciate the historical stuff, but I just find that I have more fun and I enjoy the hobby more when I might be copying historical stuff, like whenever I'm building an aircraft. In that case, usually it's pretty accurate to what was in real life. But when it comes to armor, I just say go with whatever looks good, And I will say working on that T55 is more fun than most of the other projects I've done, especially when it comes to armor. So personally, I feel more comfortable with the what if modeling just because then no one can really criticize you for accuracy errors, and then you yourself don't really have that sticking out in your mind. Like I don't know, if I were trying to do something exactly to a photo, I'd have to do it exactly as it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See. Ezra?
So my stance on it is like I usually try and find an image or just a probable situation that I can recreate, but I'm not going to worry about, like to the exact tiny detail. Like I'm going to take something that probably could happen or might have happened, and I'm going to do it. But
yeah, exactly.
Like there's no point in trying to get every single little detail right because you're never going to, and it's more just about like taking inspiration from it rather than recreating something, and it gives you a little more leeway. But I also haven't really delved too much into like the sci-fi side, so who knows?
Fair enough. Ezra, how about you?
Oh, I went already.
Did you?
Go again.
Yeah, tell us more.
I don't know what else there is to say. It's simple. Like,
Just do what you
fall
want.
into the same category as Jack.
Yeah. Yay, we're in the same category.
Yay.
Yeah, I think I'd be the same as most everyone here. I like doing historical battles and events and historical armor, but I've never done anything based off a picture with the exception of that long tom.
Mhm.
But like the Normandy diorama I'm doing, for example, like it's not based off of a picture, but it's based off of maybe other pictures or stories or whatever from that day and those events, and just kind of recreating that scene. But like Dennis said, doing the Horizon Island fictional stuff, so fun. Like I love throwing random stowage. Like who would have thought to put Challenger 2 side armor on a T-62?
You.
Like that shit's fun. Yeah, me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just super fun to, make up whatever the fuck you want. No one can tell you otherwise, right? Like they can't be like, oh well, this was that and that was this. It's like, oh, okay, were you there? Like, did you actually? Do you have reference photos of the Horizon Islands? Like, can't do that.
Like,
But I
this
also
doesn't
Pull up
exist.
Arma 3 on their laptop.
I mean, I could also see the attraction to like what Christian does. That's fucking cool to be able to like side by side with a picture in your model. Be like, yeah, I recreated that. Like that's
Oh yeah,
pretty
he's a
fucking dope.
wizard.
I hope
Oh, yeah.
Christian doesn't copyright strike us for using his picture.
He's not gonna copyright us.
He's definitely going after us.
Yeah.
To us.
Now, something I can appreciate also is like the picture of the X-wing down there on the bottom left, Floki's model. That is fucking awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
Like the same thing with like Callum was saying earlier, Star Wars fans. If they, if you want to build something like Star Wars and you go off the seam a little bit from like canon, freak the fuck out. Like you can kind of compare it to World War II modeling. Like if I did like a Tiger tank in northern France somewhere, someone's probably gonna cry that Tiger tanks weren't in Normandy. Quote Facebook guy, end quote. When in reality, like there were, and even if there weren't, like fuck it, like it's a different battle somewhere else. Same with Star Wars. Like there's a whole goddamn universe, multiple galaxies, and someone's upset that you put stormtroopers on a ice planet at a certain year. Like,
Yeah,
fuck out of here.
How are you gonna argue what's canon if it's about space? That's
The
so
literal
dumb.
universe.
Yeah,
And Disney deleted all the canon anyway, so who cares?
yeah.
Oh yeah, Disney
Yeah,
just
It's
like,
all out the window
threw it
anyways.
Question for you guys: do you reckon, like, say in IPMS competitions and all that, do you think there's not enough people doing what if builds?
100%.
Oh, yeah.
There's too much of a no. It's got to be like accurate to this, and like something tells me if you brought the T55 or the T62 there, they would have a shit fit sort of thing. Do you think there's?
I want to see it.
There needs to be more of a. Do you think there needs to be more of a push towards that sort of judging it by how it looks as it is, not by what it's supposed to look like, or something like that?
Yeah.
Yes. The effort put into it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it needs to be
Ezra.
treated more as an art.
Yeah, like Ezra, you've judged,
Yep.
What's your experience with like people putting in what ifs and stuff like that?
Well, I don't really judge any what ifs, but
Have you seen it?
Well, that's the thing. Have you seen many?
no, I haven't.
Yeah, the two shows I've been to and the one meeting, I've never seen a what if build.
Yeah, and that's the problem. It's like asking like Ezra at a show, have you seen one? And it's like, oh, they're just not around. It's got to change. I think like sometimes there needs to be a sort of change in attitude of like, oh, it's got to this Sherman's supposed to look, completely like what they had and all that. And it's like, no, like over rust the fuck out of it. Give it a weird camo scheme. It's like appreciate the model for how well it's been made, not by what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, well, then I can dox points for there being too much rust.
Well,
Exactly.
maybe this
That's
goes
the
to kind of
problem.
the problem with like, say you got IPMS, right? Like I've read the way that actually not IPMS but AMPS. I read their judging criteria, right?
Shit's
The way
gay.
that well, and the thing is like, So when you go to IPMS or AMPS, they basically treat scale modeling as a science, right? If you want to get maximum points, these are the criteria you have to follow. Like there's an algorithm that you can follow where you will every time get the like maximum result from the judges because you do certain things, right? It's more or less just putting in the time and actually doing all of that, right?
It's a
But when you
playbook.
introduce what if models, right, where there's no reference material, where the models have to be judged just kind of like on the quality of them on their own, then you're almost basically judging it as art. And unlike science, art is inherently subjective. So, like, someone might say, look at Greg's T62 or my T55 and say, that looks awesome. Those things are innovative. They have a lot of stuff going on with them. They're really good models. But then you've got a guy who thinks of it more like as a science, and they're going to say, well, why is there rust on an ERA brick, right? Like just stuff like that, and then they're going to dock points for it. So I think a large part of it comes down to: do you think that modeling is an art? Do you think it's more of a science? And if you think it's an art, like what level of subjectivity should there be in with the judging?
Yeah. And I mean, if you're going for something like super rusty, like your T55, it shouldn't be judged as, oh, that never happened or anything like that. It should be, say, okay, they've rusted the hell out of it. Let's see how well the rusting is. Let's have a look at, don't look at it as there's rust on it. Look at it as how did they do it? How well did they represent rust on a metal surface? How well did they represent, dirt and stuff being caught up? Not so much, they shouldn't be judging it as that shouldn't be there. They should be judging it as well, it's there. Let's see how well they did it. Let's see how they pulled it off.
Right. I mean, well, Dennis, you saw how the people.
And there's IPMS coming after me.
Well, Dennis, you saw the way kitmaker people reacted to your T55.
Yeah,
Pretty well.
How'd they react?
Pretty well, except for this one douchebag called Mega Machines.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that guy. He's the
Yeah.
worst.
Yeah. Word.
Yeah, but people actually reacted pretty well. Though I had a bunch of people calling it an abandoned T55, and they didn't have the heart to tell them, actually, this thing is in full frontline service. They
It's like,
just
this is a
showed
runner.
forward rust proofing.
Dude, actually, this thing's in the process of going to the front, so.
It's like, this is their up to date.
Fired off 100 D10T rounds. Yeah, but there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, people seem to appreciate, like, when you're not in a very formalized environment like a model show, people seem to appreciate, like, what if models a lot more, or, like, they at least voice that,
Yeah. Or at the very least in competitions, split it into okay, these people are trying to go for historical accuracy and all that. And then, okay, this model looks really good, let's see how they did it, how they pulled it off. Even if they had to split it into that would be better.
That would be so much better.
Because at the moment, you're trying to judge, say, Christians versus Dennis's. Using that scientific sort of method, Dennis will never win, even though his one, in my opinion, looks better.
Yeah, take that, Dennis.
Yeah, take that, Christian. Callum likes mine more.
It's kind of this, it's just a lot of biases coming in where judges shouldn't be, but people can't help it.
I mean, that's what you get from a bunch of boomers on power trips.
That's something that I noticed a lot when I went to the Phoenix show and then this last one in San Diego. And like one of the judges, when he walked up to me and y'all know the AAV I recently built for that guy with all the mud on it?
Yep.
Is being washed off. Yeah, he was like, oh, it's the coloring's pretty good and whatnot, but it just the model just doesn't look good because of how over weathered it is. And it's like, okay, they want to go off of accuracy and off of like how a vehicle's used and what it looks like. And then you get fucking idiots like that who obviously don't know what a certain vehicle is. They don't ask questions. They don't inquire about the model or whatever.
And also someone who's never seen an AAV after a training.
Yeah. Literally, it's a dude in a flak with a hose watering it down. Like, it's kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah. And if they're saying, like, an AAV is over-weathered, it's like, have you seen one of those things after a landing?
Yeah, they're not clean, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, Greg, you were totally in your right to turn around and go, well, actually, I am a Marine. You could you just lie your ass off and go, I worked on these. This is pretty accurate. Are they going to tell you otherwise?
To be fair, I've been on field ops with these things around, and I've seen them in the desert, and we actually did a defense with them attacking a beachhead, so I know what they look like, especially out during the field. So it was pretty damn accurate. Fucking cunt.
M&P official statement.
When M&P is asked, I give their official thoughts on IPMS. What great.
Just one word. Cunt.
Wait, who has access to the MMP Twitter? You should just
Me.
tweet cunt.
Oh, God. But you have to at the IPMS.
At IPMS. Cunt.
Well, I mean, well, I was saving that because we now follow Kitmaker Forum on Twitter.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I know.
No.
Yeah. Cunt.
And Armorama, or however you say it. Was it? That old forum?
Armorama?
Yeah, that's the one. We also follow that.
So what? Yeah, what is Armorama?
Armorama is basically it used to be the preeminent scale model making, or specifically scale armor model making forum on the internet. It's been around since the 90s. It is the biggest forum. It had the most content. It was like an actual official news source for a lot of things. And now Armorama, though it still exists, it exists as part of what is called the Kitmaker Network, which is now basically an integrated set of forums where they took all of the other affiliated forums with Armorama and brought them into one, it's the Kitmaker Network now.
It's the union.
It's basically, it's part of the alliance.
As we're saying this, I'm literally reading through Kitmaker right now.
Oh, of course you are.
Oh, you poor soul.
My name is Ezra, and I list all the Kitmaker stuff.
I live in New
Kitmaker's
Mexico,
good.
and I read Kitmaker.
I live in New Mexico, and I have the cops go by and my power go out.
Oh yeah, my power came on 20 minutes ago, so I'm good.
Hey, finally.
Yeah.
So the whole competition thing, that also you can see that with Whatif models. They're being produced, TACOM with their paper pandas, stuff like that, and the amount of bitching people have been making, going, "Oh, this never existed," and all of that. It's if you want to make a historical model, that's all fine, but some people don't. It's actually rather childish, to be honest, but that's just me.
It's weird gatekeepy.
Yeah, it's like
It is gatekeepy.
Like you get people that say that are solely focused on a model is a vehicle that was used, it's real, and you have to paint it how they had it back then and all of that, and then you bring along a whole lot of prototype stuff and all that is actually really interesting. Don't get me wrong, normal stuff, really cool. I like it. Prototype and all of that, I just find a bit more interesting because it's all stuff dreamt up in what most of them look like a fever dream. And then you get to actually see something, you get to see it in a three-dimensional way. And you can just create all these scenarios of, well, what if this had been out in the field? How would it compare against that? And, but there's a lot of... Yeah.
So my hot take on that is that if you are only in it for the history, go into diecast, because at least they aren't going to mess anything up. If you do models, you have to acknowledge that there's an artistic aspect, and you can't just divorce the modeling hobby from the artistic component of it. You can be all about the history, but you can't say that people are any lesser of modelers because they're, say, more into the artistic the artistic standpoint of it.
Yeah, and I mean, you can be fully into the history and model completely what if. I mean, look at us. We have a podcast where the first section is all about a real... Well, okay, we've done some paper stuff. We've done some paper pantsers, but we generally talk about a real vehicle and go into the history of it, and then we'll go into work in progress, and it's like, and this is some completely, totally random bloody color scheme I've put on this tank, and I've done this and this and this to it.
Hell,
It's like you can be both. You don't. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Greg, remember how we came up with like an official like history of the Horizon Islands Defense Forces?
Yes, which
We
by
are
the way
writing
is
field
continuing.
manuals. Yeah.
Yeah, it's continually changing and updating. So yes, it's yeah.
Mark my words, there will be more ink spilled on the Horizon Islands than there will be on the entirety of the rest of human history.
Hey, Dennis, are you
Yes.
able to print me out a 1/24th scale tow missile?
If I have a file for it, yes.
Okay. So wait, how do files work? Like, are you able to scale them up and?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
so if I can get a file of a tow missile, that's all I need.
Oh, okay. Sweet. I'll keep that in mind.
What are you doing? If you want my price, you can have it.
No, I have a Porsche Diesel Junior tractor.
Oh
That'll
my
do it.
god,
Yeah,
I'm invested.
I'll say less.
Do we have any other talking points?
Next week we will have the details out for the Battle of the Bulge group build.
Oh yeah.
We need to do that. We keep forgetting.
Yeah, we need to have like a proper meeting once in a while.
I'm chomping at the bits to post about that group build, but I don't want to post until we do the thing.
So
That
we
sounds
have
good.
a hard enough time meeting up every Friday.
That is true. That is.
It's very true.
Yeah. All right. So if anyone else has anything else to say about historical versus what if and sci-fi, do we have any takers? Anyone else?
Fuck
Anything else?
Facebook.
Well, that's the general thing. That's what we say every week. Fuck Facebook.
That's
Yep.
true. We just have to close it out with that.
Yep. Well, if you have been
And-
listening up until this point, thank you
Dennis.
so much for listening. Yep.
You've forgotten something.
What?
The wheel.
Spinny.
Oh.
Yeah, the Wheel of Wonder.
All right. And give me a moment here, gents.
Uh.
Alrighty. Let me spin the wheel.
BDM 103, BDM 103.
It's Pershing.
Oh, we need to add the ADATs to that list.
It's
We do
already
have-
there.
It's right
Oh!
there.
God
almost
damn
got it.
There you go.
Ah,
So
so
next week-
close!
So,
KV1 and KV2.
by mere pixels, we are going to be doing the KV1 and KV2 in variations of each.
Sweet.
So, Dennis,
Well, if you've been listening up until this point, thank you so much for listening. You have been listening and watching the Micro Machines podcast. We will catch you next week when we will talk about the KV series of tanks. Alrighty.
Yes.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
see you later.
Bye.
Bye.